Madam Secretary, please start the meeting.
Chair, the meeting is now being recorded.
I would like to call the regular meeting of April 8th, 2024 to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
The flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation under God, liberty and justice for all.
Will the Secretary please call roll?
Commissioner Benninger,
Present.
Commissioner Escamilla, Commissioner Leo,
Here.
Commissioner Ramos, Commissioner Wu,
Here.
Vice Chair Oliva,
Here.
Chair Pham,
Here.
Commissioner Escamilla.
Present.
Chair quorum has been reached at 5:34.
Thank you. Before we begin, I would like to remind my fellow commissioners to turn your microphone on when speaking and off when not speaking. And when speaking, please place the microphone about 4 inches away from you. Members of the public may attend Planning Commission meetings in person or virtually via Zoom. I now invite the Commission Secretary to describe the way the public can access and participate in the meetings.
This meeting is being live streamed via our portal at www.sana-ana.primegov.com/public/portal and to YouTube at www.youtube.com/City of Santa Ana videos. If you would like to provide public comment, you may do so in the following ways. Join the meeting via Zoom, enter meeting ID number 824076750077. When the item that you would like to comment on is being discussed, select the hand icon to let us know you would like to speak. You will be called upon by the name you entered. You can also join the meeting by calling 669-900-6833. Enter meeting ID 82407675077. When the item that you would like to comment on is being discussed, press 9 to let us know you would like to speak. You will be called upon by the last 3 digits of your phone number. After you are called upon, you may press 6 to unmute yourself. For those who are attending this meeting in person and would like to provide public comment, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. All speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. I will alert you when your time's up.
Moving on to public comments on non-agenda or non-public hearing items. Madam Secretary, does anyone wish to speak?
If you're attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on non-agenda or non-public hearing items, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on non-agenda or non-public hearing items, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment on non-agenda or non-public hearing items, please dial 9 and then 6 to unmute yourself. Chair, we have 2 speakers and I've given you their speakers cards.
Thank you. We have 2 speakers, Ms. Sherry Menke. Would you like to speak?
Sherry Menke, Morrison Park. I was here in December. If you remember, I shared my story. And I'm back again because I'm very passionate about short-term rentals and the benefits that they have brought and can continue to bring to the city if taxed and regulated. So on Tuesday at the city council meeting, 2 of the criticisms of STRs that were mentioned were nuisances, litter, traffic noise, and parking. And what I would say to that is these things are not caused by short-term rentals, but rather they're caused by irresponsible property owners, and that can be fixed with a regulated program. The other was housing shortage. Again, housing shortage is not caused by short-term rentals. A majority of operators in this city rent out a room in their home that they reside in, and they use that money to pay their mortgage. The council Tuesday also mentioned wanting quality of life for residents. The short-term rental owner next to me, who I was a neighbor with, showed me what quality of life was all about, not just for myself and not just for her, but for people around the world that came to our city and stayed in her rental. I talked with them. They taught me so many things about the countries and the places that they come from. So you talk about quality of life, a short-term rental program would bring that. The other thing they talked about on Tuesday was the budget. Short-term rentals, if taxed and regulated, can bring a huge revenue to the city and help with the budget shortfalls that we have here. And the other thing that they mentioned was they need small businesses, entrepreneurs to come into the city. We are already here. We exist and we are thriving. Why not use us? We are residents. We are people working. We are your entrepreneurs that they were talking about on Tuesday. And we're here in the city and we want to work with you and you. We want a chance for a tax and regulated program. And the last thing I will say is that a study that I recently found showed that 80% of STR hosts are women. A lot of those women are mothers like me, working hard to earn money to pay our mortgages and support our families. My neighbor who I spoke about earlier was a mother of 4, and she employed me, who's a mother of 5. And I, for the last almost 7 years, have employed a single mother who has 2 children. So you have to think about your vote on zoning codes, and the vote on Tuesday affects thousands of people in the city that you might not see here at City Hall. But please take seriously your vote on short-term rentals because it makes a big difference in the city. Thanks.
Thank you. Let the record show Commissioner Ramos just joined us. Our second speaker is Mr. Wesley Menke.
My feelings. Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Chairman Balfam and Planning Commission and staff for your time. A quick background on City Council actions on short-term rentals. On September 15th, an ordinance of a moratorium for 45 days passed in the City Council. Then on October 20th, 2015, the city voted unanimously to let the moratorium expire. Attorney Carvalho reported that once a council lets a moratorium expire, it cannot re-agendize the matter. The council sent it to the Development and Transportation Advisory Committee for review. There has never been a public hearing with that committee in 9 years. Silence. The code has been silent. The website is silent. On September 26, 2022, a proposed ban of STRs came before this commission, and it was yanked off the agenda at the last minute because this place was full of decent people running small businesses in the city. Then last December, there was a planning session here. Thank you so much. Excellent presentation. Most of you were very supportive of it. There were some legitimate questions which are worth discussion, but it did not sound like anyone in here wanted a ban. So the big question is why this past Tuesday, last week, Agenda 21A, there was a ban. Do they not care about your opinion? They're supposed to listen to you. At that meeting, the urgency failed the first 2 votes to get a supermajority. And then the third time, Pro Tem made the recommendation to vote on it a third time, which is against Rosenberg Rules of Order that Attorney Carvalho specifically said. Therefore, the third vote is invalid. The urgency ordinance failed by Rules of Order. We feel that the Brown Act has been violated because the public has been excluded to comment on the planning session. There has been no public involvement in any study sessions in over 9 years. And this got on the agenda technically with 72 hours notice, but it was over a holiday weekend. We were told that everyone present at September 26th would be notified, but they were notified again Thursday afternoon at the beginning of a 4-day holiday weekend. I would like to entertain a motion that the Planning Commission, number 1, recommend to the City Council a voluntary resolution of Brown Act violations, recognize that the urgency ordinance failed, and recommend they do not do the second reading. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Menke.
You're very welcome. And because we're serious about paying our tot taxes, I have here a paid to the order check to the City of Santa Ana for $1,000. Consider this a
Sir,
down
your
payment.
time's up.
That's the real check.
Moving on to the consent calendar, is there a motion to approve item A, minutes from March 25th, and item B, excused absences?
Chair, if I may, I just wanted to bring up a question on the minutes. So I guess just generally, I know that we try to keep a audio record of these kind of meetings available so we can go back and look to see kind of what was discussed. But I just out of curiosity was looking at the minutes this time, and I know that we had a relatively robust discussion on the budget and just other topics, and I just felt that the minutes were a little sparse. So I don't know if that's just generally kind of the level of the minutes that we do, but you know, I guess it was really more to bring that up in conversation. Definitely okay with passing them, but I do feel that there was a lot of points made by all the individuals up here that weren't necessarily captured in the minutes, and I just kind of worry for longer term, after the videos are no longer available or there's no audio available, that we can't really go back to see what the minutes are, especially when we come to maybe larger items that will be with us for maybe decades at a time. So just to bring that point up. But other than that, I am okay with moving to approve the consent calendar.
I second.
Was that a motion, Commissioner?
Sorry, yes, I motion to, yes.
We have a motion by Commissioner Escamilla and a second by Vice Chair Oliva. Secretary, please call roll.
Commissioner Benninger,
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla,
Aye.
Commissioner Leo,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramos,
I'd like to abstain.
Commissioner Wu,
Aye.
Vice Chair Oliva,
Aye.
Chair Pham.
Aye.
Motion approved by majority vote with Commissioner Ramos abstaining.
That concludes the consent calendar items. Moving on to the public hearing. I will now review the process for the public hearing so that everyone knows what to expect. Staff will provide a presentation and answer questions from the commission. The public hearing will then be open. The applicant will then be given the opportunity to speak, limited to 15 minutes. Members of the public will then be given the opportunity to comment, limited to 3 minutes. The applicant will then be given the opportunity to respond to the comments made by the public, limited to 5 minutes. The public hearing will then be closed. Discussion will return to the commission with formal action to take into approve, deny, or continue review of the application. Please consider the following suggestions when organizing your comments. Please state your name and address, which is voluntary. State whether you support, oppose, or are neutral to the proposal. Your statement should include all pertinent facts within your knowledge. Please note, decisions on this matter is final unless appealed within 10 days by any interested individual or party. Recommendations on this item will be forwarded to the City Council at a later date for final determination. This is the time and place for conditional use permit number 2024-03, variance number 2024-01, and abandonment number 2023-02 for the property located within the Bristol Street Corridor Specific Plan SP-1 zoning district. Please note that the applicant has requested the Planning Commission to continue both the conditional use permit and variance application for an indefinite period. So today we'll be discussing the abandonment, number 2023-02. Before we begin, do any of the commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regards to this item? Seeing none, Fernanda, can you provide a brief presentation?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. Up for discussion tonight, we have abandonment number 2023-02. This application is for a street vacation adjacent to 1601 and 1607 North Bristol Street. Sorry. Sorry about that. So as I was saying, the application is for a street vacation adjacent to 1601 and 1607 North Bristol Street. This is public right-of-way adjacent to the address mentioned above, and it's within Ward 5. The property owner of 1601 and 1607 North Bristol is requesting the city to vacate 392 square feet of Bristol right-of-way pursuant to California Government Code Section 65042A. Street vacations must be first submitted to and reported upon by the Planning Commission for conformance with the general plan. This slide shows an aerial view of what the 392 square feet look like and a photo of the site looking north along Bristol Street. It's highlighted in yellow. The proposed vacation is in conformance with the land use and mobility element of the city's general plan. Policy 2.6 of the land use element encourages investment, and the proposed vacation will convert a currently underdeveloped and underutilized space into a privately maintained element of a new commercial site. Policy 1.9 of the mobility element requests regional consistency, and the proposed vacation will remove excess right-of-way to ensure that Bristol Street remains consistent with OCTA, or Orange County Transportation Agency master plan of arterial highways. Policy 4.2 of the mobility element encourages project review. The proposed vacation allows for additional usable space for project development. And with that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopts a resolution finding abandonment number 2023-2 to be consistent with the general plan. Myself and Public Works are available for any questions that the commission might have.
Thank you, Fernanda. Does the commissioner have any comments or questions for Fernanda? Commissioner Benninger?
Yes. I know sometimes the terms that is used don't always agree with me. But when we say abandonment, are we selling this land or are we giving it away?
Selling.
And you're selling it at market value?
I believe so. Yeah, it's at market value.
That's all my question.
Commissioner Escamilla?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Anytime I get to narrow Bristol, I'm, definitely supportive of the general concept. So it's a pretty slam dunk with me. I guess for me, as far as like the actual impact on the potential project, is this just essentially kind of moving the front the front setback so we're able to kind of utilize the space a little bit more and anticipate that this is probably still going to be landscaping just according to the general guidelines for the zone. And then the other kind of item that was brought up was consistency with the MPOS, or the Master Plan of Arterial Highways. Right now, like, how wide does Bristol have to be according to the MPA, and like, how much do we kind of have to play with there? Because I guess for me, I'm just also thinking of where else we can kind of narrow the street and or just kind of move some of those lines a little bit more forward. Because I feel that Bristol is still overbuilt, and it's a separate topic, but it is, I think, touching upon this particular item in front of us right now.
I do have Public Works. I don't know if you know exactly the yeah, so Bristol's built out, so this sliver of land is just to move the property line forward, and it would just comply with the
Okay, yeah, and I guess just for Public Works in general, I know that we do have some other streets where we're seeing that we're still requiring basically set-asides and/or potential future right-of-way acquisitions for the city. So just in general, I think from the kind of planning perspective, I would love to see if we can have a better understanding of kind of where our road widths are on these major arterials, and overall just narrowing them down whenever feasible. I think Tustin's probably a good example, sort of like Bristol, where we're still looking to acquire an additional 10 to 20 feet. It makes all the buildings go back into basically undevelopable lots. So anything we can do to kind of adjust that with the MPA, I think under, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting, does anyone remember Terminator Fred? That's Fred, the former director of Public Works. I always, because he just, Wasabi Poor, because he was just always so serious. He was a very, very cool guy. But one of the things that you all were doing was kind of just narrowing down the roads wherever possible. And I think that that's something we definitely want to take a look at in general. So just a note for Public Works in the audience. Thank you.
Commissioner Leo? Commissioner Wu?
It's a little sliver of property, right?
Yes, only 392 square feet.
So if the city puts any landscaping or monument there, it would probably get run over. Thank you.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yeah, I have a more general question regarding this and any other like little pieces of land along Bristol. Are all these subject to the Surplus Lands Act?
As the city identified surplus properties along Bristol Street stemming from the adoption of the specific plan and the segments that are being widened, yes, all of them were subject to the State Surplus Land Act. And then after that sort of step in the process, as no affordable developments were identified and all that, then they became available for commercial development opportunities, which is ultimately what we believe will be intended for this site if the application were to come before the commission.
Thank you for that clarification. That's all.
Vice Chair?
I'm happy to see that there's going to be some sort of development in this area, but my question is regarding, similar to commenting on Bristol, would there be some sort of, entry, exit way that's going to be built there, or how is that going to go about if it's going to be a commercial location?
Yeah, so under a separate project and application, there will be future development here, and there will be a driveway to enter and exit.
Thank you.
Thank you. No comments from myself. Are there any other? Commissioner Escamilla?
Sorry, and again, now if we're just talking generally about the general use of Bristol, I know, like, I guess for me, I just would still be remiss to say, it's still an opportunity to think of something different for Bristol, because I just feel that a lot of the development that we're getting there is consistent with the kind of C1 standard, but I don't necessarily think that that's the best and highest land use that we could be promoting along this major arterial roadway. So I would just, leave the comment that I do believe we should re-envision a different look for Bristol overall, rather than continuing to double down on the number of drive-throughs that we have. But that's a separate conversation, so I will stop now.
Thank you, Commissioner Escamilla. And just to safeguard the commission too, I would encourage that your general comments, while understood, not lead towards like a predetermined position on any future applications that are not given a due process. So while they're appreciated, the deliberation should focus on the request that's at hand this evening.
But thank you, and I do want to, I guess, caveat my previous comments with, in general, I am supportive of the idea of higher intensity use along major arterials wherever that's applicable in a general sense, if that's any better.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, if there's no other discussion, I'm ready to make a motion.
I need to close. I need to open up the public hearing first.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. The public hearing is now open. Is the applicant present?
I believe he is in the Zoom meeting, so if
Is the applicant present via Zoom?
Yes.
Would the applicant like to speak on the matter?
Hi, how are you? So my name is Amir Horiani. I appreciate everyone's time tonight. Um, I'm the developer behind the project, and I've been working with Fernanda and Ali on this project over the past, I feel like it's been about a year and a half. It's been quite a pleasure working with them. Um, I think they've given a good account of what's being presented today regarding the abandonment. I think if the planning commission decides to vote on the abandonment in favor of it, it would be a net positive for the city and for the project. It will allow us to incorporate a very small sliver of land into a property, into our project, which will be privately maintained. And we are planning on incorporating landscaping into it. And I'm available if there are any questions.
Thank you, Amir. Does any of the commissioners have any question for Amir? No, seeing none. Thank you. Madam Secretary, have we received any written communication? Is there members of the public that would like to comment on this item?
We have not received public comment prior to the 3:30 deadline. If you're attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you're participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you're calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial 9 and then 6 to unmute yourself. We have a speaker.
Mr. Menke, before we proceed, I'd like to remind you that whatever your comments are, they need to pertain to the item at hand. Yes, okay. We have Mr. Wesley Menke. Please approach.
Good evening, and thank you, Chairman Pham and Planning Commission. In regards to this project, I have a few public comments I'd like to share. First of all, how much was the land sold for? Along with Benninger's question. Thank you. Really important for the public to know that. And if land is taken from the people and sold to a private party, I think the public deserves a good in return besides just, some dollars. My suggestion is that since housing is in such shortage, that we ask the very kind developer to consider building housing above it. Along with the Bristol Corridor comments, I agree. I heard that Bristol Corridor brings in most of the tax revenue in the city. And I think public transit increased north and south on Bristol, and encouraging a lot of these strip malls and developments to build additional housing on top of them for mixed usage would be a real key to solving the city's housing shortage. Santa Ana is the fourth most densely populated city in the country. It goes New York, I believe Chicago, San Francisco, and Santa Ana. I'm sure you all already knew that, but a lot of people don't. And so a street like Bristol is really an amazing opportunity to develop. And if you saw more of that mixed zoning happening where, residential could be built on top of commercial with a city of our density, that would really make a lot of sense. And it could impact a lot of other things too, like short-term rentals, for example. But with this topic in particular, my question would be, how much would the land sold for? And could the developer consider building residential housing on top of their business and to support the general plan? Thank you very much for the great presentation and project. Sounds like it's going to be a nice coffee shop. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Menke. Are there any additional comments or any callers on Zoom?
We do not have any additional speakers.
Thank you. We'll now close the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve the matter?
I move that we approve condition use permit 2024-03 And the general continued variance of 2024-01, and adopt a resolution finding abandonment of 2023-02.
Is there a second?
I second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wu and a second by Commissioner Benninger. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Commissioner Benninger,
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla,
Aye.
Commissioner Leo,
Did he say continue, the first one, the conditional use permit, or did he say approve? I heard approve. Did he say continue the first two items?
yes.
Okay. Aye.
Commissioner Ramos,
Aye.
Commissioner Wu,
Aye.
Vice Chair Oliva,
Aye.
Chair Pham.
Aye.
Motion approved by unanimous consent.
Mr. Chair, can I ask city staff and city attorney a question? The resident came up with a question, okay? The process in terms of planning items that come to our attention has been worked on for over a year with city staff, right? And you look at all the factors. There've been a couple of times when those items, not in just particular with this, when they come up here, we seem to be redesigning what has been proposed and saying that there should be alternative views, and, you know, we're debating quality, shoulda, woulda. And I was wondering, is that our intent, or is our charge, which I think in the previous training, is to approve what is being presented? But if that's the case, should we not also provide some overall guidance, which I think will be coming up in your zoning and general plan update, where we can provide those kind of guidance, but in terms of guidance, in terms of general policy, they're never specific enough. When you have someone with money and development looking at a piece of property and wanting to do X, and then later on through further discussion with residents, if you didn't interact with them, that there may be someone that don't want X and want Y, you know? So as a developer doing other development, I know that we have to spend a lot of time trying to get the opinion of the community. Sometimes things look simple, okay? A retail space zone for that, you know, boom. But the incorporation of other things that are not beyond your business scope of your corporation, I'm looking how to not have that discussion where we're just redesigning a proposal coming through us. It's either a good project fit the zoning, you know, that's why I was told, look at the legal part of it, and it's either pass or no, right?
Thank you, Commissioner Wu. Given that the deliberation for this item has concluded, I think your comments would be well taken during the closing comment section of the agenda. Although they were thorough and I was taking notes, but nonetheless, if you wish to share such ideologies or philosophies as guidance for staff, that would be most appropriate at the end of the meeting.
And I will. I didn't mean
Thank you.
to associate it with this particular item
Thank you.
because it had nothing to do with the item. It just a thought that I needed clarity. Do we debate or don't we? Okay. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Ali. That concludes the business calendar. We'll move on to staff comments. Staff will be presenting to us the comprehensive zoning code update. Siri will now provide a short presentation for us.
Thank you, Chairman Pham, Vice Chair Oliva, and members of the Planning Commission. Good evening. It's my pleasure tonight to share the status of the city's comprehensive zoning code update. And we last presented this to you in the fall of 2023, and I'm excited to say we've made quite a bit of progress and have been very busy since that time. So just a reminder, the zoning code update will span an 18 to 24 month period, which began in October of 2023. At a high level, the scope of the project includes a review and audit of the existing code, engaging both the City Council and the Planning Commission through interviews and study sessions. And I wanted to express my appreciation for those of you that participated in an interview. We've heard from the consultant that they were very successful, so we appreciate the time that you put into that. In addition, the scope includes engaging the public through stakeholder interviews, public workshops, and focused activities with community-based organizations, drafting the zoning code, conducting public hearings, and adopting the zoning code. On the screen here, you can see our status or our point in time. We are here at the end of phase 1, and we're transitioning to phase 2, which includes consultation with the public during public workshops and preparation of the first draft of the zoning code. Our activity to date includes, of course, the approval of the contract with Moore, Iacofano, and Goldsman Incorporated in October, preparation of an outline for the new zoning code in November, preparation of a public engagement plan in January, and ongoing auditing of the existing code, as well as review of special plans. In February, we conducted a tour of the city with city staff from multiple agencies, as well as the consultant team, so that they could see the opportunities we have throughout the city and areas of concern. And then between February and March, we conducted 34 interviews involving 45 stakeholders. And we've got a few more that we will do this month, and then that will conclude the interview process. Once we've completed those interviews, we'll be preparing a summary, and we're looking forward to sharing that summary with you during our next status update. So next steps in the process include community-based organization engagement at a special event that we call the Community Planning Collaborative. We'll be reaching out to community-based organizations in the coming weeks to invite them to be involved. And if you have contacts with any community-based organizations, please encourage them to participate. They can reach me if they have any questions. We also have the first of 3 rounds of public workshops, and each round will include 5 workshops. So we'll have a total of 15 throughout the process. Then we plan to have study sessions with the Planning Commission and City Council. We're looking at those taking place in July. And then finally, we're looking forward to starting to draft the zoning code, which will take place during the fall and winter of 2024. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments for us here? Any questions? Commissioner Bennett?
No, not at this time.
Ms. Kimia?
Thank you. And no, had the chance to meet the consultants. They were really great to meet with, and I definitely have more comments to send their way, but just appreciate the effort and the deep dive that you all are doing with all the stakeholders.
Commissioner Leo?
No comments.
Commissioner Will?
I am appreciative for you having the community involvement process, and I understand that the initial interview is to create the framework for discussion when you go out to the community, so that you can have some broad strokes of like where are some inconsistent zoning and some of the findings that we've been hearing all along. You'd be sharing that with the public. Right. Since this is a community planning process, could part of that process be an education process for the community as well? To explain how the planning process works and how zoning works and how, so for the uninitiated, okay, the general public will know a little more, so they can make a design, inform input into the process. Those community organizations may have historic issues that they would be bringing in, and that's what you'll hear. But if we're engaging new people that have never attended, that want to have an opportunity to talk, they may also learn something. So I was just wondering if there's a little bit of a community education process maybe that could be incorporated.
Absolutely. This type of process is a two-way street. And so there's learning that takes place both between the city and from the city to the constituents who have never been involved with this kind of thing before, as well as education from the stakeholders to the city, because they're the experts about when it comes to their own neighborhoods.
And then the meetings will be conducted in bilingual way with translation.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yeah, just a follow-up question on that. What languages will these public meetings be in?
The public meetings will be in English and in Spanish with opportunities for Vietnamese and Khmer, sorry.
Thank you. I just wanted to ensure that that was also a possibility, knowing that we do have a large chunk of our population in the city that is monolingual in those languages. I also appreciate hearing that you will be meeting with other community groups and maybe organizations. And I'd like to ask that for the record, you share your name and email in case anybody is listening right now and would like to email you directly if they're not already connected to one of us on the dais. So if you'd be able to share that right now in case anybody's watching.
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood. Yes, my name is Siri Champion. I'm the project manager, and my email is schampion@santa-ana.org.
Thank you, and that's all for now.
Vice Chair? Yeah, I think I would like to echo Commissioner Wu's point about educating, since we're out there, we're going to outreach to the community anyways, because I'm sure staff at the counter can testify. Sometimes, someone comes in, you're putting a burden on staff to basically educate the whole planning process while also explaining to the community whether or not they could build something or not build something. So since we have the opportunity to have such a large gathering of the community at one place, I think a general kind of seminar or guidance on how things really need to proceed through planning, through building, public works, things like that. I think that would be very beneficial to the community overall. Other than that, I look forward to the zoning code updates. Hopefully there's a lot of diagrams, a lot of hyperlinks. I think that's would be very, very useful. Other than that, is there any final comments for Siri? Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, we have a planning award presentation. Ali will now provide a short presentation on all the awards the city has garnered.
Thank you, Chair. It won't be all the awards because we'd be here for 3 days, but it'll be some of them. So I just wanted to take a moment to share with the Commission. We did provide a presentation to City Council recently, and we wanted to do the same for the Planning Commission on recent planning awards that have been awarded to the city in different projects. So we are frequently awarded from various entities: Orange County Business Journal, American Planning Association, American Institute of Architects, even affordable housing developers and networks will award us frequently for our projects here that aren't possible without the Commission's support. Those are all available in the Planning Division lobby, and the image that you see is but a snippet of those awards. So 2024, we've been off to a great start. The Santa Ana Arts Collective at 1666 North Main Street, the 4th Street Market Lofts here in downtown above the 4th Street Market, and La Placita Cinco on 5th have all been awarded recently with recognitions that are pretty significant. The first for the Santa Ana Arts Collective, this one has won numerous recognitions, but it was recently awarded an honor award by the American Institute of Architects in the California chapter for excellency in residential design. Of note, this project was also featured in a full-page spread of the National Planning magazine as a successful implementation of adaptive reuse. Secondly, the adaptive reuse of the space above the 4th Street Market into apartments was also recognized by the AIA Orange County chapter in excellency in design and execution of architecture. And lastly, and this is pretty significant, 2 projects from Santa Ana were featured in the Harvard University Journal State of Housing Design. This is a journal that comes out that recognizes projects around the nation that are advancing residential design through innovative practices. And I do want to point out only 47 projects across the entire nation were featured in this, and 2 of those are from here in Santa Ana. That's a pretty big deal. So we're pretty proud of these all, and we wanted to share them with City Council and again with you this evening. And again, to reiterate, these would not have been possible. In fact, 2 out of the 3 projects this evening were subject to Planning Commission review and approval, and your role in getting us there is pretty significant. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ali. Congratulations. While we have you here, do you have any closing comments?
Just on a formal note, during public comments, a check was dropped off to the commission secretaries, and that was returned to the individual who issued it.
And then do you have any closing comments for staff? Commissioner Benninger?
Congratulations on the awards. I appreciate the offer to see the Toll Brothers new building. And I'm gonna take advantage of that and see that, and I think it's another one of those that we're gonna win an award with on it. So I do want to congratulate the planning department for winning those awards.
Commissioner Escamilla?
Yeah, I think we also need to have probably a specific case where it was when Ali was on staff and how many awards we got versus how many we have from before. And I think your cabinet will probably be the largest of the cabinets there. So I'm just saying, Ali, I think you had a lot more to do with all of these awards than probably all of us up here put together.
It is a team effort.
All right. But sometimes you have good players. So congratulations on also, I guess, running the department for now while, oh my gosh, our director is out. But I guess more generally, definitely, I think you all are doing a great job. Definitely some really interesting, great projects there. And I know that there was a lot of hiccups with some of these and, just to get them across the finish line. But obviously, now we're really providing amazing housing opportunities for a lot of people that were lucky enough to get into it. So, from my perspective, we just need more of these sorts of high quality projects wherever we can put them. And I guess more generally for the audience, so one of the things I do love to do is just background research and just, sticking to the facts of things. And the quote that we are the 4th densest city in the United States was attributed to pretty much where our numbers were in about 2010, based off of the largest 300 cities with a population over 300,000. So that number's actually dropped a little bit. So we're now number 8 if we're going by that same metric. But of cities over 100,000, we are now 16th, and we are the overall 101st most dense city. Incorporated city in the United States. So those numbers do vary depending on kind of where you do the cutoff there. But I would say the one that we generally attribute, we're really kind of 8th now. So we're actually dropped down 4 spaces. So.
Commissioner Leo?
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to bring up positive stories. There were some good positive news about on the housing front in Santa Ana. We seem to be one of the leaders in the county, which is good. I think some of our brethren cities should probably do their share. But that was good news, and that's attributable to this planning commission, the previous one, city council, and so on. Last week or the week before, I can't remember where it was. I was able to go to the OC Forum, listen to the Bristol related presentation. I think it's probably time we have a discussion. It's going to take 2 or 3 conversations. And the delays as the conversation goes around us makes it harder for us to not discuss it publicly, because it's such a large project that, and maybe it's the developer's purpose to do that, but at some point we got to get it in front of us. The public's going to need to give comment. We're going to have to give comment. So sooner rather than later. How is that for encouragement? And then I listened to the comments last week about the budget, and I'd encourage the public to fill out the forms, give the input. We are facing a difficult time, just like the state, and we're gonna have to figure a way out of it. And so the commission can set a tone when it comes to projects, whether they're housing projects or projects that produce sales tax. That's pretty much in our realm. Outside of that, there's not much else, but I encourage the public to fill out the input form, because Yeah, we're all in this kind of together.
Commissioner Wu?
I'd like to tie up a couple of themes. First of all, Carl and I attended what was it, a conference for planning directors and commissioners, at which staff in the planning department made a presentation on what they're doing with environment justice and civic engagement. And it was a wonderful presentation by Margarita and other staff. So we are a award-winning city because we have very good staff. The La Pacinta Cinco was not a cherished project by the neighborhood association or Teacher Pilar Neighborhood Association at first. They didn't understand the dynamics of that street, which has junkyards and the parking problem emanated from one apartment complex prior to Placenta Cinco, but it was blamed on that before it got even built in the design phase. There are people abandoning their cars there, or they're part of the junkyard park people, and that was their parking problem, but they were complaining about the parking problem. But since that got built, the lighting has made it more secure there. The building has an active, tenant association that involve people. The police department make regular visits there to talk about what to do with transit population. Life has come back to the marketplace that was very marginal before. So here's something that is in a mixed-use corridor that was eligible for opportunity zone, but we didn't see very many uses of opportunity zone. Okay, I'm not complaining about staff. You designated that area, you found it. But the promotion of economic development project is something we don't understand, or how to attract that type of development and people that will create jobs and opportunity. And thus also change. While we need affordable housing, there are many units from the plethora of current units that are still empty and has been filled yet, and they're very good at housing. They're very good affordable prices too. Not enough units, maybe. I wish it would be more low income, versus the other, but it's the developer and what economically, it fits for them. I bring this up because sometimes we do redo a project that has come to us for consideration for a conditional use permit. And I was wishing there was some way to wrap up a general planning process, going out there zoning and the community engagement process to really take an opportunity to educate the public, because sometimes we don't get good information. We get emotions, which is understandable. I'm not complaining about that. But, sometimes they say there'll be a lot of traffic. Well, in one case, how could you have a lot of traffic when there's a big old cemetery there? Those guys ain't going nowhere, So when you look at it and you observe it and you go out and do your research, sometimes it doesn't fit what we're hearing, okay? Now, going back to short-term rental, maybe in this process that as we go out there, could there be a process to also look at short-term rental and nuisance landlords that are not taking care of their property as one of the same planning process? Because right now, I know across the street from me, there was a guy that one of my neighbors said they were just building a porch. He's building several additional self-contained units, which he may be setting up to do and I see no permit for a subdivision into a 3 or 4-plex, okay? Which already, there's enough people, it could be one family, I don't know. The cars are really taking up most of the parking space, okay? So the nuisance from that sometimes could be associated with, the short-term rentals, okay? Nevertheless, you look at a building or a house, being used, where do you put these things, right? we don't because of the state law, right, that allows adult dwelling units and all that. So some of these things come down to us, and we have to make a decision here, okay? And sometimes we get divided on something that seems like more of a political issue than it is trying to really figure out a solution to the forced hodgepodge kind of decision we got to make, because we're looking at just this one little thing that we're asked to make a decision on. So I was wondering, is there a way that we could provide staff to get some guidance to look at, if we're going to do strip malls, do we have a zone where we could do strip mall with housing up top? Okay, it's not that it can't be done, because it can be done. That's done through the zoning process, right? Then it's whether or not, how long it sits there until someone with money that want to develop that kind of project do it. Okay. At a time when we're suffering from budget things, and I was talking to another commissioner about the need for more economic development, in terms of maybe reuse of some of our industrial area that is not used as much, or retail space that can be converted to more job factory. There's an interesting project in the city of Garden Grove, which they call cottage industry housing, which is someone bought a house. There's actually a barbecue restaurant, a Vietnamese barbecue restaurant, mind you. And it's very good, and it has nice parking, because they bought the house next door, and then they have their little thing. Then I know a movie producer that wants to build a studio, a movie studio, so we're looking at cottages in Orange. So, that creates a lot of jobs that can be done, where people can live and work. Because it's the kind of job that lends itself there. So I know I'm preaching now, and I'm sorry for that, but I'm just trying to not to redo the things come up, but the merit of what everyone is saying, is good. But if all is good, what is the decision that we make? It's not just that there is short-term rental. There is a problem with the way people live as today, whether they observe the law or don't. We have stop sign and people don't stop. That might mean that we need a public education process to talk about good citizenship, because I know Carl and I, we've been involved with the neighborhood improvement and neighborhood integrity movement for over 40-some years. And we know that we've gotten to a point where the city invested in home loans that rehabilitate homes, encouraging, yard cleanup and, dumpster program and all that, which is all designed so that we can be proud of our city, have good neighborhoods that are safe, well lighted and all that. And the lighting program, the sidewalk program, and Public Works are doing really wonderful that it's getting to our part of town. So that's enough preaching for me. I hope I'm understanding. I'm not complaining about what you do, but given the process we have and our own comment, our own desire to weigh in on it, including myself, okay, I was wondering if there was a better way of interacting. And unfortunately, the only people that meet a potential developer or proposal before the CPUC is at the staff level.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. I think a couple of points. So when it comes to broader level topics like zoning, where would housing be allowed, potentially where would land uses, short-term rentals, et cetera, be allowed, that is the purpose of the zoning code update. And that is why our consultant and we as staff invited all the commissioners and council members to be part of those interviews, so that you have an opportunity at this stage early on to start letting our consultant know what is important to you and what should be looked at, and what can we look at other cities for guidance on, what can we look to our own community for sort of guidance, what works in Santa Ana, what's best practices, etc. In terms of the planning process, if there's a question about at what stage does the commission interact with a developer, that is certainly something we can provide a staff presentation on to the commission to help bring everyone up to speed about what the development process looks like in a community like Santa Ana, with things like neighborhood meetings, the Sunshine Ordinance, and ultimately getting a project ready for a discretionary hearing such as tonight's request.
And the conflict between, the way people view, the comments that view on the short-term rental and also problem property owners, okay?
I would just encourage, sorry, Commissioner Wu, but short-term rentals is not a topic on tonight's agenda.
No,
I just want to
I'm not
make clear
addressing
that
that.
the city council has already adopted an ordinance.
I'm looking at
as of
the
the
issue of
last meeting.
I'm looking at the issue of problem property and how do you balance that? Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Wu. Commissioner Ramos?
Yes, thank you. So I was thinking, I think a little bit earlier, and then I know Commissioner Wu also briefly mentioned it, but I'm wondering if at some point the staff can provide a presentation on opportunity zones to this planning commission. So I know I had looked into opportunity zones before coming onto this commission. I believe the city has around 10. And I'm just wondering what tracking the city is doing on those zones, on like the number of permits being pulled or approved in those areas. And as we look at the zoning code update, I'd also be interested in just seeing what the zoning looks like in those opportunity zones to see if there's any consistencies. And I'd also like us to start thinking about, or not thinking about, but just also be aware of what the neighborhoods within those opportunity zones look like. So I know that there is some research that suggests that in some of these zones, when they include residential areas, the residents there may be at higher risk of displacement, depending on what type of development is approved. So I'd just be interested in us receiving any presentation that staff can put together so that we can go in with some of that knowledge into the zoning code update process, so that we're well aware of both the economic development opportunities, but approaching that in a very mindful and conscious way, so that we can also ensure that we are promoting economic development while also ensuring or doing what we can to ensure that residents won't be displaced as a result of that. Thank you.
Can we add new market tax credit zone to the demographics for them too?
Vice Chair?
I just want to congratulate staff on these awards. I know y'all put hours, days, weeks, months into these projects, so congratulations on this national recognition. And I also want to thank the residents that are in the audience, just being part of civic engagement at whatever age. Like, thank you so much for being here and for participating.
Vice Chair. I think a few of the commissioners vocalized that there are things that they wanted to discuss or have study sessions on. I just want to make sure all the commissioners remember that we do have a list that staff worked with each of us on the items that we wanted to discuss, and staff will then look for time that there's gaps in our agenda to discuss those study sessions. So I encourage you to reach out to staff if there's a new item that you want to see on that list, and then we'll defer to staff to see when it's an appropriate time to discuss those items. Other than that, I think it's very it's a good coincidence that we have a presentation for all these awards, as well as we have a presentation about an update in the zoning, just because I think sometimes common planning practice is to build based on context, but other times, the city, and I can see that staff has taken chances on projects to create a context for better and more beneficial buildings within our cities. And so I would congratulate staff for their effort and their leap of faith in the developers that present innovative projects so that we do have a context for a continued innovation within our city, and will continue to lead on the housing front as well as other design disciplines. Other than that, I'll swing it back to any other commissioners who would like to take one last comment.
I'd just like to thank the people who spoke today and really comment how wonderful the children are. I wish you could have some adults be this attentive. So thank you.
At 5:30 p.m. council chambers. Thank you.